And now, marine weather around Alaska.
For tonight's weather, we've got weakening low pressure here in the southern Gulf of Alaska and a front bringing rain mostly to the southern panhandle. Mostly cloudy, scattered showers here over the southeast interior. Some areas of snow up to the north. Dry out to the west, all the way into the central Bering Sea here. And wind and rain pushing in with that next system that begins to weaken tomorrow as it slides eastward here in this portion. Spreading rain, small craft advisory winds in toward Atka Island. And then still pretty nice central or northern Bering Sea and down to the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians. Not too bad over the southwest part of the state. Still some snow showers up to the north and variably cloudy with some scattered snow or scattered showers here over the southeast interior as well as the panhandle. And for Monday, looking at more rain for the southeast coast. Excuse me. Excuse me again. Birch fever and southeast interior, some showers there. Dry out to the west and this front weakening as it pushes eastward here to the eastern Aleutians. And here for the coastal water forecast, south coast of the panhandle, south to southeast winds 15 to 20 knots, east southeast winds at 20 knots for the central coast, and more of a variable direction up north at 10 to 15 knots. South winds 10 knots for Lynn Canal, southeast at 15 for Stevens Passage, Clarence Strait, southeast winds 20 knots. And for Monday, here on the south coast, southeast winds 15 knots, and the north coast variable to northeast at 5 to 15 knots. Light winds over the central and northern inner channels there, mostly from the southeast at 10, southeast 15 for Clarence Strait. And for Prince William Sound, north winds at 10 knots. And pretty much variable winds here at 10 knots for Cook Inlet, Kamishak Bay, the Barren Islands, western North Gulf Coast, eastern North Gulf Coast, northeast at 15. And then for Monday, variable winds 10 knots, Kamishak Bay, the Barren Islands, the North Gulf Coast, south at 10 for Prince William Sound, and south to southwest winds 15 knots for Cook Inlet. Kodiak Island, north winds 20 knots here, east side of the island, Shelikof Strait southwest at 15, west at 20 for Bristol Bay. And for the Alaska Peninsula, northwest winds 25 knots with seas running 3 to 9 feet. And for Monday, variable winds 10 to 15 knots for the Alaska Peninsula, southwest 15 for Bristol Bay, variable winds at 10 knots for Kodiak Island. Eastern Aleutians, northwest winds 15 to 30 knots for the day on Sunday, and southeast 20 knots for the Adak-Atka area. Small craft advisories here for the western Aleutians, east to southeast winds 25 to 30 knots. And then for Monday, southwest winds 15 to 20 knots out west there, Adak and Atka, west-southwest at 20 knots, and south to southwest winds 15 to 20 knots for the Fox Islands. And for the southwest coast here, small craft advisories for the Kuskokwim Delta coast, northwest 25 tomorrow. Small craft advisories for St. Lawrence Island and Norton Sound, north winds 25 knots, north at 20 for St. Matthew Island. St. Paul, St. George Islands, northwest at 20. And for the day on Monday, light variable winds for the Pribilofs, northeast 15, St. Matthew Island, and north to northwest winds here from the northern Bering Sea to St. Lawrence Island at about 15 knots, west 15 for Norton Sound, northwest 15 there, south of Nunavik Island. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast for Sunday, north to northeast winds 10 to 15 knots, northeast at 20 knots for the central Arctic coast, western Arctic coast north at 20, and brisk wind advisories for the Chukchi Sea, north winds 25 knots. And then for the day on Monday, a little more variable here at about 20 knots for the Chukchi Sea, northeast 20 to 25 for the western Arctic coast, northeast 15 on the central coast, and the east side, east winds at 15 knots.